Today I'm going to talk to you about a subject called obedience. The children of Israel had just come out of Egypt, out of bondage. They'd had a lot of experiences in Egypt that caused God to have to do a work inside of them to change them, because they were basically self-willed, rebellious when they come out, but they were stubborn, and God had to change some things in them, about them. So a transition had to take place. And God took them around the mountain many, many times, because with the transition of being a slave to a free person, they needed to learn who God was, Jehovah God. They needed to understand God's ways, His love, His compassion, His mercy, His provision, because God is a provider. And they didn't really know God. They knew Moses, but they didn't know God. So God was teaching them a lot of things. God was teaching them how to be obedient. God was disciplining them. God was conforming them, causing them to walk in submission and be agreeable to his ways. And not only that, but God also had to get them under control. Because any time that you have been a slave and you're going into freedom, you have a tendency to be a little bit out of control, out of order, because you're so ecstatic that you found newfound freedom. But God, I'm going to talk to you today about obedience. And I'm going to go to Numbers chapter 14, verse 1. So by this time, the children of Israel had been through it all. They'd been through it all. They had been through the trials, the suffering, the complaining, the murmuring. Their flesh rose up. They demanded quail in the desert. God gave them quail, but killed half a dozen of them after they eat it, because that was flesh. They grumbled. They complained. They got tired of manna that they didn't even have to make, buy, create. All they had to do was gather it. Angel food. Yet they were not satisfied with that. Let me tell you something. When you leave a place of rest and go through transition, like they went through from their wilderness travel, they're not going to feel satisfied. Because always there's going to be a time of confusion, uncertainty, and they're not going to feel satisfied. So let's go to Numbers chapter 14, verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voices and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to them, if only we had died in the land of Egypt, or if only we had died in this wilderness. Why has the Lord brought us to this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and children should become victims? Would it not be better for us to return to Egypt? So they said to one another, let us select a leader and return to Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. But Joshua, thank God for Joshua's, but Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the one that went into the promised land, that said, don't worry about these giants, we got this, we're going into the promised land, Caleb, the son of Juaniah, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes, and they spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, the land we passed through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land. Watch this, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear." And all of the congregation said to stone them with stones. They're ready to kill them because they said that. And all of the congregation, I'm talking millions of people, said to stone them with stones. Now the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of meeting before all of the children of Israel. Then the Lord said to Moses, "How long will these people reject me?" In other words, the people are ready to stone Moses and Aaron, and Joshua jumps up, and Caleb, and he stands while Moses and Aaron are on their faces on the ground crying out to God because they're getting ready to get killed here. Joshua and Caleb stands up and faces these killers. Do you get that? They face these killers, God's people, the killers. And they're saying, "Stop. Don't do this thing. Don't resist God. Don't fight God. Walk in obedience to God. God gave us this land. God has took us 40 years into this place. We're right on the threshold of crossing over. Don't give up. You don't have to worry about the giants. The giants are nothing but bread for you to eat. I will subdue your enemy. I am with you. Why are you afraid of something you're fixing to eat? Don't fear this. I brought you this many years through the wilderness for me to show you that I am God. I have provided for you. I have been your mainstay. I have been your provision. I have been your healer. I have been your deliverer. I have saved your life. I have brought you out of slavery. I have brought you out of prison. And just what I did for Egypt, I'll do to these people, for you. In other words, anybody that rises their ugly, stinking head up against you to fight you, they're going to be your bread for your meal. I will subdue them. I will fight for you. The Lord is with you. Do not fear. And all of the congregation said to stone them with stones. I'm talking about walking in obedience. You can get to the point that when you're going through a transition, any kind of move, any kind of different level, let's talk about a transition spiritually. You can go through a transition in your spirit to where you feel so undone, so lost, so misplaced. You feel like that God is not there, but the enemy is encamped about you round about, and you feel like that the enemy is a giant that is attracted to you, that is fighting you, and God says, you're only going through a transition. I'm getting ready to bring you on through. The harder the battle that you're fighting, the greater the blessing, the greater the land that you're getting ready to conquer. Listen, God drove out them Egyptians. God didn't just drive out the Egyptians, but God said, I'm going to give you everything that they have. I'm going to give you the spoils of Egypt. The children of Israel cannot go back to Egypt, even though they're crying out and they want to go back to Egypt. The reason they can't go back to Egypt is Egypt don't want them. The Bible says that the Egyptians drove them out and run them off while they buried their firstborns. Not only that, but the children of Israel took everything they had. You know why, in my mind, you know why they had to go through the Red Sea as slow as they went? Not because there's millions of them, but because they're loaded with booty. They got the bounty. You're not going to go very fast packing gold. Gold is extremely heavy. They took everything the Egyptians had. So they can't go back. They're wanting to stone Moses and Aaron. They're wanting to find new leaders because they're afraid to go into the promised land. They're afraid to take the blessing. You know, it's how in the world would you even explain something like this? You wait all of your life for something good. You pray for it. You desire it. You hunger for it. You meditate on it. You think about it. You wait all of your life for something really, really good. And maybe it's even a promise that God's gave you. And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and all of a sudden, suddenly that thing appears. It's in your vision. It's right there. You can see it. You can sense it. You can feel it. It's right on the horizon. But yet, there's trouble there. Somebody's telling you you're not worth it. You're not worthy to obtain it. Somebody's telling you that's too good for you. Somebody's telling you that's not for you. Yours is coming later. There's a giant in your path. There's somebody there that's bringing you down. That's trying to stop you from obtaining what you can just see. Well, that'll never be yours. That'll never. No. And instead of you fighting for what's yours, and you know what's yours, you turn and walk away and say, forget it. And you're right on the border. You're right on the ledge. You're right there to obtain it, but somebody or something, or maybe it's your own mind, that has turned you away, and you can't get it. You just can't get it. That's what the children of Israel was going through. You know, people, Moses and Aaron had been with these people a long, long time. And one of the things about people that is so certain is people change their mind about you. But here's the problem. When people changes their mind about you, you don't know it. There's no alarms, no flashing lights. There's no announcements. You don't know when the switch comes. Moses and Aaron didn't know when the switch come. Joshua and Caleb confronted the killers, but they didn't know when the switch come. They didn't know when they was no longer friends until they had the rocks in their hands to kill them. People does the same thing about you. You don't know when people change their mind about you. You think you got a friend. You think you got all these people that's supporting you as you're going through this transition. You think you got all these people that's standing beside you. You think you got all these people that's going to help you go into your promised land, that's going to go into your change. But you don't know that they've done changed their mind about you. You don't know because there's no headlights, there's no flashing lights, there's no turn signals, there's nobody there to warn you that these ain't your good time friends anymore. I like to think about demons encamping about the promise, because that's what they did. That's what they did in this story. The demons encamped about the promise. And the demons was there to stop the people from going into their promise, because the enemy was encamped about the promise. Anything worth having is worth fighting for. If you think it's going to come easy, you're wrong. But God will make a way where there is no way. God will fight your battles when you don't even feel weak. When you feel weak, God will fight your battles. You can't go back, because that's bondage and slavery. God said in verse 11, "Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe me? with all the signs which I have performed among them. How long? How many times has God healed you, provided for you, gave you, stopped a divorce, stopped a bankruptcy, stopped a repossession, stopped a sickness? How many times has God stopped something devastating to come in your path, come in your way? How many times has God stopped it? But He's asking the question because you're ready to stone the situation to death. Not only will you not go in the land and take the land, not only will you not obey, but you're in disobedience, you're fighting God because you don't like the pressure, you don't like the transition, you don't like the journey. But how long will you reject the Lord? That's what the Lord's saying. How long will you reject my ways? How long will you not believe me with all the signs that I performed? How many healings does it take before you can trust me? How many times do I got to move in your situation before you believe in me? The Lord is great and greatly to be praised. When your transition is in your face, when you feel like that the devil is encamped about you and you feel like that you can't get through and you can't get into the land because of whatever reason, the Lord is great to be praised. There's been times in my walk with Jesus that I felt the pressure, I felt the tears, I felt the heartache, I felt the uncertainty, I felt the confusion, and God will just say, praise me. Praise me and I'll bring you out. Glorify my name and lift me up, and I'll change how you feel inside. My external may not change, but my internal will change. Just praise me. Can you sing my praises? Can you believe me? Can you trust me? Can you look into the hills from where comes your help? Can you put your hand in mine and walk with me? Can I bring you in? Or are you going to just stay out in the wilderness and go take another lap around the mountain and demand some more quail? How are you going to act? What are you going to do? No matter what it looks like, that's not the end of the story. That's not the ending. That's not the way it is. Because God ain't had a say in this yet. Can you trust me? That's what God wants to know. Are you going to reject me? Can you praise me? Can you lift up my holy name? Will you walk in obedience to me? Will you listen for my voice? Will you read my word? Will you burn the midnight oil on your knees? Will you trust me? I know you see giants in the land, but will you trust me? I know it looks like a long way away, but will you trust me? I can get you there real quick. I know this transition's painful, but will you trust me? I know you're confused, but will you believe on me? Will you praise me? Will you sing songs of praise to me? Will you not be stubborn and stiff-necked? Will you not be hardcore? Will you be pliable in my hands? Will you be like Job, and no matter what you see or what happens in your life, will you say, yeah, you slay me, I will still trust in you? Can you trust me? No matter what it looks like, no matter where you're at, can you trust me? Will you walk in obedience to me? Because if you can't, then you're rejecting me. That's what the Bible says. Then the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people reject me? See, the people had the rocks in their hands to stone Moses and Aaron, but God's saying, you're rejecting me. You're fighting against me. How long will you not believe me with the signs I performed? Now listen to this, verse 13. And Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptians will hear it, for by might you brought these people up from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land that they heard that you, Lord, are among these people, that you, Lord, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands above them. and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. But if you kill these people as one man, as one nation, then the nations which have heard of your fame will speak and saying, because the Lord was not able to bring this people to the land which he swore to give them, therefore he killed them in the wilderness. Now I pray, let the power of my Lord be great, just as you spoke and saying, the Lord is long-suffering and abundant in mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgressions, but he will not clear the guilty. He's long-suffering. He's long-suffering and abundant in mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgressions, but you got to trust him. Yeah, you may grumble, complain. You may even have a pity party. You may refuse to go into Canaan land, the promised land. But God is abundant in mercy. He's willing to just set you down and say, look, son, look, daughter, I'm in this. I know that you don't understand. I know that you're scared. I know that your giants are many. I know that your fears are huge. But if you will just obey me, if you will just obey me and walk where I tell you to go, do what I tell you to do, I will subdue the giants in your land. I will get rid of your enemies. I will fight your battles. But you got to walk in obedience. And he will forgive you. Even if you blew it, even if you messed up, your God will forgive you. Your God will forgive you. I was also thinking this morning that the power of blood, the power of Jesus' blood, one drop of his blood can cleanse you, wash you, heal you, cover you, protect you, be a shield for you, be a salvation for you. One drop of Jesus' blood. And when you cover yourself in prayer through the blood of the Lamb, you march on into that Canaan land. You're covered. You're covered. You're protected. You're shielded. God's got you. No demon can handle you. You don't have to fear. You don't have to tremble. God has got you. But you got to walk. Take them steps and start walking. Tell God how much you love him. Tell him how much you trust him. All right.